All right, this is Parshat Tetzaveh, a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Tovshin Nun Beit. Tovshin Nun Beit is 1992. In that year, just like in this year, there were 2 months of Adar. The Jewish calendar is 12 months, but if we only make 12 months, then eventually the seasons will start coming in a different, the holidays will start coming in different seasons. The holiday of Passover has to be in the spring. It must be in the spring. And if the Jewish calendar goes according to the moon. The first of every month is always when there's a new moon. Every month. But if we only go according to the moon, then the holiday of Passover will sometimes appear in the summer, sometimes in the winter, sometimes in the spring, sometimes in the fall, right? Like the Arab calendar. Their holidays appear at different times of the year. It makes no difference what's the season, but by the Jews it does. So therefore, it has to be adjusted. In other words, the Jewish calendar goes according to the sun and the moon. The moon and the sun. The sun is what makes the seasons. So therefore, once every 3 years, there has to be 3-4 years, there has to be what's called a leap year, an extra year, a pregnant year. Shana Mu'aberes, and they add an extra month. What are the extra month? The month of Adar, they make 2. They don't make a new name. They take the month of Adar and they add on another Adar. That's called the first month of Adar and the second month of Adar. That's the month immediately preceding the month where Passover is Nisan. Okay, we read, here we are, Parshat Tetzaveh. Parshat Tetzaveh, this Torah called Parshat Tetzaveh that we're reading now, here Parshat Yechid, it's the only Torah portion. The Achar latest Moshe after Moses was born. And when was Moses born, by the way? On the 7th day of Adar. This is the first Adar, but Moses was born also in the first Adar, it says. In any case, this is the only Torah portion in the Torah after Moses was born, after the book of Exodus starts. Shalom it parish, it was not written explicitly, expressly, the name of Moses. The name of Moses does not appear in this week's Torah portion, and it's the only one that it doesn't appear after, of course, in the book of Bereshit, in Genesis, it's not mentioned because Moses wasn't born. But as soon as Moses was born, in the beginning of this book of the Bible, which is called Exodus, then every single Torah portion mentions Moses' name, except for this one. And we find 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons why that in this week's Torah portion, Moses' name is not mentioned. One reason is that since that in Adar Moses died, it's hinted at the time of his passing away that his name is not mentioned in this Torah portion. Because this Torah portion is usually read in the 7th day of Adar, which is the truth. That's this week's also. Right, 7th day of Adar this week is going to be what, Tuesday when? Cave, and since Shomer Moshe, since Moses said, that's number 1 reason. Because if this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, is usually read in conjunction with a date that Moses passed away, the 7th day of Adar. So to remember that, we don't mention his name in this week's Torah portion. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2. Given Shomer Moshe, since that Moses said, and we're going to see this in next week's Torah portion, Moses says, Im ayin mecheni no mesifracha. What happened? Next week's Torah portion called Parshas Tisa is the tragic and embarrassing story of how the Jews worshiped the golden calf. The Jews worshiped the golden calf just 40 days after Moses went up on Mount Sinai. He was supposed to come down on the 40th day, and they miscalculated, and they thought he wasn't going to come down at all. So just 90 days after they left Egypt, 3 months after they left Egypt, and 40 days after they heard personally God say, don't worship idols, Lo yelecha Elohim acherim, you're only allowed to worship the God that took you out of Egypt and gave the Torah. I am first of the 10 commandments. I am God that took you out of Egypt. This God who's giving the Torah is the God who took you out of Egypt. That's the only God everyone in the world is supposed to worship. That's God. Anything else is a mistake. Well, the Jewish people didn't. They worshiped the golden calf because Jewish people like to worship golden calves and do all sorts of weird things. And God said, that's it. I'm finished with these people. I'm going to wipe them all out, and I'm going to make you into the Jewish people. God's not going to wipe out the Jewish people, but he's going to wipe out these Jewish people. And you, Moses, are going to be the new Jewish people. What do you say about that, Moses? And Moses said, no, you have to save all the Jews. And if you don't want to save the Jews, all these Jews, the big sinners, save them all. There were a lot of them that got killed, but they got killed by punishment. But ayin, if you don't save the Jews, wipe me out, wipe my name out from the Torah. Take my name out of the Torah, the whole Torah. Take my name out. Well, of course, God did not wipe out the Jews, so therefore Moses' condition didn't have to be fulfilled, right? God did not. But nevertheless, kill a chacham, and says the curse of a Talmud of a Torah scholar, al filo al tanai, even if it was on a condition and that condition was not fulfilled, nevertheless, comes. So Moses said, wipe me out of your book, out of your Torah. If you don't say, if you wipe out all the Jews, God, then wipe me out too. I don't want. Right? And God did not wipe out the Jews. He listened to Moses. He didn't wipe out the Jews. So therefore, he didn't have to wipe them out of the Torah. But because he said it, even on a Kanai, it comes. Therefore, because God said, even though the God answered Moses, that he did what Moses said, therefore Moses did not have to press God, right? Wipe me out of your book. Therefore, there was no reason to wipe him out of the book, right? I mean, God. Nevertheless, nevertheless, God did wipe him out from one portion of the Torah. Right? It's like a son saying to his father, listen, Dad, if you don't become a Republican, you don't change from a Democrat to a Republican, take me out of your will. I don't want any of your properties. And the father says, okay, I'll become a Republican, right? But nevertheless, I'm going to wipe you out of something. You don't get my ring or something. Right? That's the same thing with God and Moses. Moses said, if you insist on destroying the Jewish people, then destroy me also. And God said, okay, I won't destroy the Jewish people, but I'm going to destroy you a little bit. I'm wiping you out from one portion of the Torah. So that's the second reason. Okay, Moshe. So there's these two reasons, because Moses died, and the second because Moses made this condition. The first reason that Moses died on the 7th day of Adar, Cave and Shebeshiva the Adar Maze, but the 7th day of Adar he died, and also the 7th day of Adar he was born. He was born on the same day. Ukadai, and it says the day a person is born wipes out the day that he dies. Why? Because if he died, it's true, but when he was born, he did all these good deeds, and he did these good things that were eternal. So true, it had to stop one day, but the fact that he was born and that he lived to 120 years, his birthday negates the bad thing that happened, that he died. That's what happened with Haman. Haman, it says, the story with Purim. Well, Haman, he was a big sorcerer, and he didn't want to make decisions on his own. He wanted to make decisions only according to the zodiac or the I Ching or whatever he decided to do. So he threw dice, and he said, "Poor beyerech shemet bo Moshe." And the dice came out. I don't know if it was dice, whatever, some sort of lots he threw, because dice can never be number one. The lowest number you can get with dice is 2. So it's maybe a dice that had a blank spot. I don't know. Anyway, he threw them, and it came out to be on the 11th month, on the month that Moses died. And since that Moses died in that month, so Haman was very happy. But he didn't know that on the 7th day of Adar, the day that he died, was the same day also that he was born, 120 years earlier. If so, why was not put in the Torah any hint at when Moses was born. In the Torah, it only says, right? How do we know when Moses was? Only when he died. How do we know when Moses was died? Because this week's Torah portion, God is not, Moses' name is not mentioned. Not mentioned in this. So according to we have two reasons why in this week's Torah portion that Moses' name is not mentioned. The first is because this is the month that Moses died. And the second is because Moses made this condition that God wipe me out of your book, wipe me out of the Torah if you destroy the Jewish people. Right? So the first reason isn't such a good one. Why? Because true, Moses died on this month, but also Moses was born in this month. And this month was a very good month for the Jews. It ended up that was what saved them in the month of Purim. So why in the Torah is there only made a mention, is there made a sign of when Moses died, according to this first opinion, namely that Moses' name wasn't mentioned in this book? Why wasn't there made some sort of a mention of that when Moses was born? That's the first reason. So the first reason is not such a good one, that Moses died in this month. And that's why his name is not mentioned here, because in this month is read this Torah portion, because this is also the month that he was born. What about the second reason? That Moses made the condition. And regarding the second reason that Moses said, wipe me out of your book, right? When did Moses say, wipe me out of your book? When did he say? He said this was after the 17th day of Tammuz. The 17th day of Tammuz, that's when Moses came down with the tablets. And he broke them, 17th of Tammuz. He went up to receive the first tablets on the first day, on the 6th day of Sivan, and he came down 40 days later, on the 17th day of the next month, Tammuz. And so therefore, and when is it written? It's written in Parshas Kisa, next week. If it's written next week, Lama Nirmas Kiyumo, why is it written? Why is this commemorated? The fact that Moses said, wipe me out, in this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh. This week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, really happened before the sin of the golden calf. So the time doesn't come out right. God wiped Moses' name out of a Torah portion that happened before Moses requested God to wipe it out. Moses said, wipe out my name. This was after the sin of the Egel. Right? And that's mentioned in next week's Torah portion. That's when Moses requested God to wipe it out. And this week's Torah portion, which is before, this is this is the week where we wipe, where Moses' name is wiped out. Why? It's before even requested. It should be afterwards. Number 3. Also, excuse me, 1 second. My knees. Okay, Yuvan, Gam also Tzorich Lavan, we have to understand another thing between what are these two reasons, the connection one to the other. That Moses died when this Torah portion is read, right? So therefore Moses' name is not here. Number 2, that Moses requested that his name be wiped out of the whole Torah. God just wiped that out of one. Is there a connection between the two of them? We're going to see something really amazing, how the Rebbe is going to put all this together and what it means to us. Very, very important. That because these two things are reasons for the same exact thing, namely that Moses' name does not appear in this week's Torah portion, so it's logical to say, it's probable to say that there's some sort of a connection between them. That Moses' name does not appear in this week's Torah portion because this is the week where Moses died, and because it doesn't appear in this Torah portion, because, second reason, Moses requested that his name be wiped out. Bait. We can explain, first of all, the explanation, the greatest, this amazing thing that Moses was born on the 7th day of Adar. This is the day of joy, which affects the whole entire month of Adar. Now, the month of Adar, that's the month with Purim occurs. Purim, in many ways, is the happiest holiday in Judaism. happiest holiday in Judaism. Adar is the day that we were saved from total annihilation. There was never a holiday when we were so clearly threatened with a total annihilation than before Adar. So, and it says what saved us in a way was the birth that Moses was born on the 7th. Let's see. Regarding the month of Adar, it says in the Gemara, since that Haman threw these lots, like a lottery, he threw these lots on the month of Adar. Samach Haman, Haman was happy, Simcha Gadol, a great happiness. Amar, now who was Haman? Haman was Hitler. Haman was Hitler, but Haman was much more powerful than Hitler. Hitler only controlled Europe or whatever, and he tried to control more. Haman actually, factually, controlled the whole entire world. The king Achashverosh gave him total control to do whatever he wanted to, and he said, what do I want? One thing, to destroy all the Jews. And Achashverosh said, okay, Achashverosh is the king. And that's what you want. That's not such a difficult request. Do it. Do it. And that's what, and he all of a sudden got the permission to kill, destroy, and call Yehudim in one day. In one day. That's the holiday of Purim. So he had actual power to kill all the Jews in one day. And he sent a letter around to all the people saying that, on a certain day, this day is coming, and everyone sharpen your swords, buy a lot of arrows, practice shooting, right? And the Jews are not allowed to have any weapons of defense whatsoever. No Jews are not allowed to have any weapons of defense. And that was the decree. So the Jews were finished. I mean, they were outnumbered, who knows, 1,000 to 1. All of a sudden, everything turned around. So it says that, but Haman wasn't happy with that. Haman wanted to do everything according to sorcery. So he threw lots, and it came out on the best month he could possibly imagine. He said, wow, the month of Adar. This is the month there's no holidays, and it's the month that Moses died. And he didn't know that on the 7th day of Adar, he was born. Hainu Shaletus Moshe, so that the birth of Moses on the 7th day of Adar, this brought about a negation and a transformation of the decree of Haman in the month of Adar, in a way that the month transformed to joy. And in fact, even more, the whole month. It says when Adar comes in, you have to be more happy. It says Adar Bari, it says the Adar is healthy. Mazli, it's strong. The luck of the Jewish people is strong in Adar. This is the whole entire month is a happy month. This is something we don't find in any other month of the year. There's a lot of holidays in Judaism, but in none of them do we see that the whole month is happy just because Sukkot occurs in a month, and Passover occurs in a month, that the whole month is happy. In Parshas Dvar Gemara, from the simple words of the Gemara, Muchach, it seems to be indicated that the birth of Moses in the month of Adar, this negated umechaperet, and also it brings forgiveness for any of the bad things that happened in this month. Moses died. That's why Haman was happy. I mean, just think about it one moment. Moses was so holy. Moses was so pure. Moses didn't do any sins. What did he do? He struck the rock. It was no big sin. And nevertheless, Moses died. Wow. If Moses died, then anybody can die. Any Jew can die. And the Jews aren't there. They're not so special. They're not God's chosen people. They're not God's sons. But look, Moses died. Moses is the best of all. Died. So Haman was happy, a great happiness. Happiness. Okay, good. So, I mean, it happened to be that Moses was also born on that day. So that the fact that he was born on that day, L'chora, in Raya, Shebagalal Zeh, there's no reason that because of this, this whole month should be happy more than all the other months. Why does it make this whole month happy? This is even stronger when it says, according to what it says in the rabbis, Priti Anyanim of Haman. There's details. What happened when Haman threw these lots? It says that Haman, it says the Midrash, when Haman or Russia, when the evil Haman, he wanted to decide, he wanted to destroy the Jewish people. Omar, he said to himself, Eich sholet bahem, how can I rule over them. He knew that they were God's people, the Jewish people. They were God's people. But on the other hand, he knew that the Jewish people were sinning. It says that Achashverosh made a big meal, and that he invited all the Jewish people. Why did he make the meal? Because he believed in the prophecies of the prophets. And the prophecies said that in 70 years, the Jewish people are going to go out of exile. 70 years. They're going to go. And according to his calculations, the first temple had been destroyed more than 70 years ago. That's according to his calculations. And the Jewish people had not gotten out of exile. And therefore he said, that's it. The prophecy is not going to be fulfilled. It's a sign that all the prophets are wrong, that the Jewish people have been abandoned by God. And he made a big party, and all the Jews came. Nevertheless, despite this fact that the Jews angered God, all of them except for Mordechai. Mordechai says, we're the only one that didn't bow down. Haman said, nevertheless, I want to be closed. I want to be sure from all the sides. There's not maybe a little hole in my plan. I'm going to throw lots. I'm going to throw this whole thing up to the powers of, fortune. So therefore, he began in the month of Nisan. And it came out, he said, no, the month of Nisan, there's the merit of Pesach. Iyar, there's what's called Pesach Katan. And the Holech, Moneh, all the months, every single month had some sort of a good merit to it. He came to the month of Adar, said, oh, here's a month where there's nothing good. Haman. Chazar, when did this thing of Haman happen, by the way? Haman happened between the first and the second temple. Like I said, they thought there wasn't going to be a second temple. Haman went back and he checked in the stars, the zodiac. Taleh, the Aries, that's the sheep, whatever, that's in the merit of Passover. Shur, what was it? Shur, I forget already. I used to be in astrology a long time ago. Taurus, the ox, this is in the merit of Yosef. He went and he saw all of the different zodiac, the powers of the zodiac of all of the 11 months of the year, until he came to fish. That's the Pisces, right? That's the zodiac of the month of Adar. This is the month of Adar, and he couldn't find any merit to this fish. Nothing. He was very, very happy. And he said, Adar ein lo zechut, the mazal ein zechut. The month of Adar hasn't got any merits. There's no holidays. And the mazal of the zodiac, the astrological thing has no value. Below, not only that in Adar also Moses died. And that was like the third thing. But he didn't know that on the first day of Adar, that on the seventh day of Adar, Moses died, true, but also he was born. Omar, he said, just like the fish swallow up, right? God said, just like fish swallow up each other, I will also swallow up. I'm sorry. Just like dagin and bolayin, just like fish. Haman said, just like fish swallow, also I'll swallow them. I'm going to swallow up the Jews. God said back to him, Russia, you evil person. Dagim, sometimes they swallow, but sometimes they are swallowed. Achshav oto ish nivla mina boloim. You will be swallowed by those who are usually, you will be swallowed up by the fish that usually are swallowed by others. Who's going to swallow who? Usually people swallow up fish. Fish don't swallow up people. God said, now there's going to be an exception. Because Moses was born in this month of Adar, now fish, which usually they're the swallowed, they're going to become the swallowers, the Jewish people. That's their month, this month of the sign of the fish. This is stressed that the birth of Moses only negated one thing. What do we say? What did Haman say? There's no holidays in the month of Adar, and the mazal of the month of Adar is fish. There's no merit in Judaism to this mazal, to this zodiac sign. And there's a third thing. Moses died in this month. So God said back to him, you don't know, but Moses also was born in this month. And therefore that twists the whole thing around. The fish that you want to swallow will swallow you up. And there's going to be a big holiday in this month. It's going to be because of you. But it ended up, the whole thing only came because Moses was born. In other words, the first two things really remained the same. But on the merit that Moses was born in this month, so therefore the month got a holiday, and also the zodiac, whatever is the sign of that month, became good for the Jews. But the only thing that really changed was that Moses was born. The dogma is something like Bitl of Shars the Ani Bole Otam, something like what it said, because Moses was born, therefore you are not going to swallow them. Why? Because sometimes fish also do the swallowing. But the month itself, it was the same thing. The month has no merit, and the mazel of the month has no merit. The month of Adar has no holidays in it. At least when Haman made the decree, it didn't have any holidays. And also it was the month of Adar, of the fish. Fish don't have any merit in it. The only thing that changed was that Moses, true, he did die in this month, but also he was born. And because he was born, that flipped everything around. So if so, we have to understand Adar on its own doesn't have any merit more than any other months of the year. What's the explanation? What's known, the day that a person is born, that this is a big day. The mazal, the luck of that person, the spiritual influence called the mazal, this rules on that day and it helps him. Namely, that the mazal, the spiritual influence of the birthday of a person, helps a person that his mazal, his spiritual force, will be powerful on that day. Like the language says of Gover Yisrael, the Jewish people, they overpowered. This is when they fought with Amalek. Yeshlom, we can say that the day that Moses was born, and because Moses, he is the entirety of all the Jewish people, and all the Jewish people are there only for Moses. The leader of the Jewish people, he is the whole entire, he is the entirety of that generation. Because the leader of the generation, he's everyone. The key even says those who insist that every generation always has to have a leader in every generation, including Moses of the Jewish people, to the generation. And in that generation, who was it? When Haman was there? Mordechai. So therefore, Gover, Muslim, Israel, therefore, because Moses' spiritual source was powerful in that month, and every generation has to have a Moses, and Moses is all the Jewish people. So therefore, when Moses, it was a lucky month for Moses, it was a lucky month for all the Jewish people. Now we can understand also to the mazel of the month, that the month when Moses was born, and Moses is the same thing as the Jewish people, this helped the whole, not just that day, but the whole entire month. This was a month of power for the Jewish people. Therefore, Adar, the Bari of Atakiv Mazla, therefore the month of Adar, it says is healthy and powerful. It's mazal, it's luck, it's spiritual influence. Hainu Shaladis Moshe, the fact that Moses was born, and Moses, he's the Jewish people. On the 7th day of Adar, this brought about in the whole entire month, that the whole entire month became powerful of the Jewish people. And this was the way the Jewish people were able to overcome insurmountable odds. Right? One person cannot fight against 500 people. Right? Even in the science fiction movies, they don't have anything like that, unless you have some sort of an atomic bomb or something. And then they had to fight. Their battles were face to face. You know, everybody, there was like 3 weapons, 4 weapons. All they had was like spears and swords and bows and arrows. That's it. Or maybe rocks they could throw, who knows. They had to fight face to face. How could one person defeat 500? The Jews were outnumbered 500 to 1. This is because Moses had the merit of Moses. The merit of Moses gave strength to all of the Jewish people. One man gave power to all the Jewish people. As we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow, let's just do the Yom Yom for today. Oh, second. There's no doubt whatsoever that wherever we go, we are brought there by God in order to cleanse and purify the world with words of Torah and prayer. You're stuck in a airport terminal. You're in some sort of a who knows where. Jews have been almost everywhere. God forbid a person is in the worst places. Or you're going to visit somebody you're in the Senate of the United States, whatever. The only reason you're there is for Torah and prayer. We Jewish people are the emissaries of God. Each one of us, because God has directed us and decreed for us to be wherever we are. None of us is free from the sacred task placed on our shoulders to make this world into a holy place. How do we do it? By praying, by saying words of Torah, by saying words of prayer, wherever we are. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now, 3:00, God willing, we'll learn the Torah with commentary. Have a good day and see you all. Shalom.